Good evening, ladies. Happy Monday. We are streaming in the group already. Make sure I can see the comments there. And open the chat. Kay, are you super duper tab?
Yes, that's me.
I love it. I was like,
it's like my self-branding. It's super duper.
super duper. I love it. That is so cute.
I was looking at I finally pulled up my blood work from September, just going through and seeing if any of this is what you wanted or anything.
Ooh, cool. Yeah, if you want to shoot it over to me, I'll take a peek.
Okay. There's a lot of information in here. The doctors, the system they use is like super stupid. Like it's hard to get into, and it's like, what's my password? What's my username? And then it's like, I have mine and my husband's in the same account. But when I went to log in, it only had his, and it's like, do you want to sign yourself up? And I'm like, I was already in here. What do you mean? I was already linked. Why are you doing this to me? So yeah, I'm in now. So
Right. I
yeah.
know I have so many different logins for every different place I get testing. It's crazy. Oh,
Yeah.
speaking of, since this is being recorded, I have something to share with you guys. I've been planning to post this in the group, but my friend Kim Howerton and Dr. Barry wrote this booklet together, Common Sense Labs, Blood Labs Demystified. I can't wait to dive into it myself, but
I just got that.
I get a lot of questions about this. And so I will find and post the link in the group to where you can get it. It's pretty cheap, right, Debbie? Wasn't it like,
Yeah.
I can't remember how much they charge for it, but it's pretty affordable and super quick read. It's got the annual labs. It's got like quick reference ranges. I think this could be really, really helpful for people.
I had gotten the online version, and then after talking about it and stuff, I ended up getting the hard copy so I can mark it up.
Yes, I know. It's great to have them and to use like that as like a workbook almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to dive into it because we're on this hormone journey myself with my functional physician, and there's so many markers that we're not testing that I'm curious about now. And I mean, I don't want to break the bank, but at the same time, I kind of love more information. But if it's completely unnecessary, then I don't know if I'll do it. But I've been planning to put together my own resource, but I was like, well, they already have this out there. So in the meantime, God only knows how long it'll take me to put something together. I'll share that in the group for y'all.
What I like about their book is that it gives you the codes for the doctor too.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So
That's helpful.
yeah.
That's really helpful. Yeah, that's awesome.
Like, Doc, I want this test, and here's a code for it. So just put it on the form.
Yeah, I'm asking for it. Do it.
Not that I'm telling you how to do your job or anything.
But
I'm the patient and I want it. So if I'm willing to pay for it. How are you feeling, Debbie?
I was feeling better earlier in the day, and now I'm starting to drag again. So
yeah, I noticed that too with the word that we will not use. Unlike typically, like when I have a cold or sinus thing, I feel worse when I wake up in the morning usually.
Yeah.
And then as the day goes on, I feel better. And this is the exact opposite I noticed. Same thing. It would be like, okay, I actually can breathe when I wake up. I'm running the humidifier, not the dehumidifier, the humidifier at night. So when I wake up, I can breathe.
Mhm.
Throughout the day, my energy comes down and it gets a little bit worse and worse before bedtime. So it's interesting.
And I got a lot of little things done between like when I got up working and probably about 2, 3 o'clock. And then I just started to go,
Eating.
I'm just gonna sit on the couch and wait for the call.
Yeah, so those of you who don't know, Debbie and I were both on the cruise and we both ended up with the C word when we got home. And there's a few people, there's a handful. I think last year was a lot more. But it's been about a week now. I'm pulling out of it, hence why we're having this chat tonight.
Yeah.
And why this is the topic. So for those just joining us, tonight's masterclass is all about how to manage through illness. And what I'm talking about tonight is acute illness, not chronic illness. So I'm not talking about autoimmune conditions. I'm not talking about chronic health conditions that you're dealing with, that you're managing while you're on your health and fitness journey. Those are things to talk to your doctor about. And each one of those things is going to have very different ways to manage it. So I'm not talking about chronic, I'm talking about acute. And by acute, I mean, you get sick, you get a common cold, you get the flu, you get what we're dealing with now.
Yeah. Your grandson shares with you.
That
was my
those
last one.
things. Yeah, so like you're knocked out of nowhere, right? You're humming along, maybe you're crushing it, or maybe you're already struggling on your journey, and then boom, illness hits you. This could either totally derail your efforts or send you further down the path of struggle, or it could just be a blip and then you can move right along just like anything else. Kind of like vacation, right? Vacation, same kind of deal. It can throw you off, or it could just be another thing that is just a blip and you just keep on moving. So I have some great examples about what I've done over the last 7 days to get this out of my system as quickly as possible and heal up and move on. And what I typically do when I get sick. And so I'll share some real practical stuff about how to manage through and not lose ground on your journey. Let's see. So that's essentially what we're talking about tonight. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 steps. As always, I have steps. Steps or things or whatever you want to call them. Tips for recovering quickly. All right. So number 1, rest. No, really. Rest. No, really.
Rest.
Rest. Put down the phone. Turn off the TV. Stop training. Stop working. Stop thinking. Just turn it all off and be with yourself. Sleep. If you can, do everything that you can to sleep. And we can talk about that when we get into the homeopathics and things I'm going to share later. But fully rest. I can't tell you how many women I see try to train through illness. Oh, I was sick. Oh, I got this. Oh, I came down with that. But I still got my training in. Right? And I'm getting the check-in after it's been a week or a week and a half and they're sick and they're like, but I still got my training in. I'm like, no, I would have told you not to do that. Because the fear is if I don't do my training, I'm not going to make progress. If I don't train, I'm going to lose all my gains in 7 days. If I get off my feet for a week, all my muscle is going to be gone that I worked so hard for. Or, oh my God, if I'm not training, then I'm going to start gaining body fat really fast. So I have to keep burning calories. I have to keep doing my cardio. I have to keep doing my weight training. Now, Debbie and I can attest when it's serious, there's no thought in your head of training or cardio or any of that. You'd be lucky to get out of bed. So
I went,
sometimes it's
I
gonna
went,
knock
I
you
did
out.
my workout Tuesday night and Wednesday because I didn't really start feeling bad until like Wednesday night. When it came to Thursday, I called him up and said, mm-mm. And I already told him I'm not going to be there this week.
Good for you. Good for you. Yeah, because once it, and this is the thing is, if you start to feel something, and I get this question a lot about, well, should I train through sickness? Like if I'm sick, should I train? Couple of things. I usually say if it's just head cold stuff, right? You're getting a sniffle, you're getting a tickle in your throat, you're sneezing, you're, things that could be allergies, it could be seasonal allergies. You're only feeling it up here. You don't have major headaches and you don't have major fatigue. And it is, it's a sniffle. It could be the common cold. It's not something that is making you feel tired or weak or you're in pain, but it's the typical kind of congestion stuff. You can work out through congestion. And that's likely what Debbie did. That's what I did before I got on the flight on Monday. I think it was that day, Sunday, Monday, I was training. But I also didn't really feel it yet. And then Tuesday, I started feeling it and I got ahead of it. And this is what I do every single time. I get ahead of it. As soon as it's like something's not right, right? Trained on Monday. Monday was a travel day. By the end of Monday, it was like 11:30 at night. We got home and I was like, ooh, I don't feel great. But I was thinking it was just the travel day. Woke up Tuesday, I was like, yeah, something's not right. I did not go to the gym. Could I have pushed it and gone to the gym on Tuesday? Yes. But I felt it. I knew something was coming. It didn't just feel like a sniffle. So I made that decision that day. Nope. And okay, we're coming off of a big travel day. Take a day off, right? Take a day off and let's just see how you feel tomorrow. 9 times out of 10, if you do that, either it will have been, yeah, it was just a long travel day. Yeah, it was just a sniffle. No big deal. And you can go back to it the next day. If it knocks you out, now you know you got something. Don't even try it. But what's the harm in taking that day off? Right? And I'll tell you, there's a mindset that goes with this too. For my ladies who are struggling, even kind of getting on the wagon in the first place, and then you have this setback. The last thing you want to do is stop because you're like, man, I'm already having a hard time just doing this. And I put it off and I put it off, and now I'm not feeling great. But I shouldn't put it off now because I already put it off. This is where, kind of like when I used to work 60 to 80-hour weeks in my old career, and I'd be burning the candle at both ends for no reason. When there wasn't a deadline or there wasn't a meeting or there wasn't something I was preparing for that had a what do you call, like a short timeline, right? Like I wasn't working off of this, like it has to be done, you have to burn midnight oil. I was just burning the midnight oil all the time. And then when we had something that was a deadline or an event, and I had to burn the midnight oil, I would be all upset and exhausted. Well, I shouldn't have been doing it the whole time. I shouldn't have been BSing the whole time. So if you're one of those people who's kind of been 1 foot in, 1 foot out on your journey, think about it like this: illness could strike at any time. So if you're feeling okay physically, I'm not talking about, oh, I just don't feel like working out today. I'm talking about the typical day where life is busy and you don't feel like it. Or maybe you're tired because you're tired a lot of the time. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, right? Don't wait for the day that now you're sick and now you're trying to push it because, oops, you didn't do it the whole week. So all that to say, when you are consistent, when you can be consistent on a regular basis, when things are well, when you are not sick, then the second you feel something, you can take that break. You've built up the leeway to do so. And that's what I do because I know I'm on point on a regular basis. The minute I start to sense something's not right, I take that day off. Because I know I'll be, if it's just something small and it's passing, or maybe it was nothing, okay, no big deal. I'll be right back to it tomorrow because that's what I do most of the time. So we have to stop this, like, well, now I have to do it. You wouldn't be saying that if you just do it consistently, right? So be consistent on a regular basis, and then the minute that you feel something could be off, take that break. Allow yourself to take that break and see. And if it gets worse, keep breaking, keep taking that break. Don't jump right back into it. That's another thing I see a lot of people do wrong. Try to jump back in too soon. So test it out with little things first, right? As I went through the week, Wednesday, Thursday were the worst 2 days. Friday was still pretty bad. Saturday I was up and I could like stand up for longer, do more in the kitchen. I was cleaning up in the house, and I didn't get that like knock you up back on your ass kind of thing. And I was like, okay, things seem to be getting better. I can be on my feet a little bit longer. I can do a little bit more. So test those kinds of things out. And then just today, yesterday, I continued to rest. I was able to get up and do more around the house again. Today, I was like, okay, it's a beautiful day. I'm going to see the sun. I waited until I had a nice break, and then I took a short walk outside. I was like, I'm going to take a short walk outside today and see how I do. 20 minutes, and I was sweating buckets. And it wasn't that hot outside. I'm in Maryland. It's not that bad. And it was later in the evening. So, I was like, this short walk got me sweating big time. So that tells me right there, tomorrow's not going to be a training day yet. First of all, I already decided because of what I have and that it's contagious. I'm waiting, to go back to a commercial gym. But if I had my own gym at home, I wouldn't be training tomorrow because the walk was enough for me today. So probably the next few days, I will be doing some stretches and maybe extending my walks a little bit. Until I can get through a 30, 45-minute walk at my normal, probably if I had tested my heart rate, it might have gotten up as well, knowing that I was sweating like that. These are all signs that my body's still trying to get rid of this sickness. So test it out, small baby steps before you dive back into trying to train. And then when you do go back to training, ease in. So if you already have a program you're following, take that program and cut down the number of sets or pick up lower weights. This is the time to take a deload when you're coming back from sickness. Your body just got a nice long rest and recovery and hopefully healing. The last thing you want to do is hammer it. That is another thing I see. There's this consistent like wanting to get there faster, right? And feeling like, well, I was out of the game for a week, so now I got to go extra hard. That's a good way to possibly take yourself out for much more than 1 week. Could be 2 or 3 or more if that happens. So take it easy going back. Maybe even just start with a body weight or some bands before you get back to weightlifting. I will probably be going back to much lighter weights than what I was lifting before. I will not be comparing myself. This is a really big, important thing. I will not be comparing myself to my PR right before I got sick. I'm not going to be looking at what was my best right before I got sick. I'm going to be looking at what can I do today? And then we move forward from there, because that is a good way to get discouraged when you're coming back from illness. Is to say, I can't lift what I did before. Well, you're not going to be able to. You're not at 100%. So give yourself time to build back up. But back on that rest piece, right? The reason I said rest 3 times, even if you stop training and you take time off work, I see a lot of the time this happening. Still checking the emails, still checking in with the boss or the team at work if you manage people. Or for my moms, oh my gosh, still trying to take care of everything in the household because it's your job. Because if you don't do it, it won't get done. It's your responsibility, right? All of this on your shoulders. So when I say stop working, I mean really stop working. Delegate, don't answer the phone, Do what you need to do. When you are sick, be off. Right? I still wanted to hold calls and all that. And I was like, okay, you know what? Y'all know I canceled the masterclass. I canceled the group calls. I was like, that's it. I gotta let that go. It's gonna be okay. The world is not gonna burn down without you. Even though we want to believe, right? Oh, the world just, nobody could handle it without us. And it feels good, but it doesn't feel good when you're sick and now you're putting all that stress on yourself. And when I say stop thinking, it's the same thing, right? You could be not physically working, but your brain is still going, oh, what do we have to do with this project? Or, well, this needs to be done. Or around the house, this has to be done. And then, you know, trust me, with my business, I'm always thinking about those things. All of that is, it's emotional stress and it's exhausting. And it can be just as exhausting as physical labor. So turn the brain off, let the brain get away from all of that. And I even say put down the phone, shut off the TV, because I'll tell you, the first day I was home, like, just like, okay, I cannot do anything. I was on the couch watching Netflix all day long. And by the end of the night, I was exhausted. I was just like, you know, I think I should have turned the TV off and laid down. And that's what I did the next day. I was actually in the bed, away from the TV, not trying to play games on my phone, keep myself entertained. And all of these muscles here, and like, we don't even realize, just using your thumb to do things on your phone, it's engaging muscles, and you're holding your phone up, and all of this can tighten up. Or even just sitting up to watch TV when you could be laying in bed, and like not laying in bed trying to look at a TV and exhausting your eyes, but like laying your head on the pillow and actually closing your eyes and actually letting yourself get that. It may not even be sleep, because sometimes we're in pain, we can't sleep, things are impacting our sleep. But the rest that you get from closing your eyes and not using your arms, not using your limbs, and actually giving your body that rest, super powerful. So if you're one of those people, I will say, I'm self-proclaimed myself, really have a hard time putting the phone down or turning off the TV, feel like you need to be doing something, get in bed and close your eyes. Turn off the lights, give yourself some actual rest time. And then finally, the thing I have to say, especially for my moms out there, you got to ask for help. I know we all sometimes wish the men in our lives could just read our minds and just do it without having to be asked.
No.
But this is the time when you just have to ask. When you know you can't get up and you're stressing over the dishes are probably piling up in the sink, and oh my gosh, there's so much laundry to do, and oh my gosh, there's this, and oh my gosh, there's that. Hey, honey, I'm not going to be able to get out of bed. The kids need their lunches made. Or in my case, hey, babe, can you go buy some eggs? Because we're not going to have eggs. And we need to eat, right? Ask for what you need. That should be said probably 5 more times, because I know we have a hard time doing that.
Let's put a sticky note on the fridge. Mama needs protein.
Buy meat. Yep. Send somebody else to do it. Order. I was thinking to myself, because in 2020, the last time I got this, and I was down for the count, I lived by myself, and my family was sick too, and they were an hour away. And I was like, well, what would I do what would I have done if that was the case this time? I would have Uber Eats, or no, I probably would have done an Instacart or got something from Whole Foods delivered. Amazon.
Costco deliver.
Yeah. You can have things delivered. So we've got to get off our feet and let other people take care of us from time to time. All right. So that was number 1, rest. Number 2, and this is going to answer the 2 questions I got in advance of the call. Eat. Nourish yourself. The 2 questions I got in the chat were, when recovering from surgery and unable to work out due to restrictions, should I stick to my BMR calories until I can get back in the gym, or keep a surplus since I'm healing and need the added protein? And then the other one, I think, was you, Debbie. When sick and not feeling like eating anything, should you still try to eat or fast? Yeah. So I'm happy the way you answered that. You said you had multiple days you didn't feel like eating, but still push yourself to have something. You did the right thing. We have got to nourish ourselves when we're sick. A lot of the time you don't feel like eating, or you just don't feel like getting up and preparing something. So this is the time when typically I advise against replacing meals with protein shakes. But in this case, and particularly post-surgery, protein is really, really important. So I like the way whoever asked that question also answered that about being in a surplus, yeah, for the added protein, yeah. So here's the thing is, when you have set calories you're following, macros you're following, whether from a coach or from yourself or from however you calculated it for your goals. Let's say you're eating in a deficit to lose body fat, or you're eating in a surplus to build muscle, or you're eating at maintenance, and you have that figured out already. A lot of the time when I get the question about when I can't train because of an injury or an illness or whatever, or when I'm on vacation and I'm not training, whatever it might be, that when I'm not training, do I need to eat less? Oh yeah, and then the big question I get all the time is about, should I eat more on days that I'm training than when I'm not training? And I always say no. Your nutritional needs are your nutritional needs, and it's not related to your training in terms of, you don't need to eat more on days you're training and eat less on days you're not training. You don't need to and shouldn't eat less because you're not training for any purpose, whether it's an injury, illness, or anything else. If you were training only to burn calories, right? If you're doing cardio for calorie burn, and now you're like, oh my gosh, I can't do my cardio, so now I need to eat less. That's where that logic comes from. This concept of, oh, I'm not training, so I should eat less. It's the concept of training is for calorie burn. And if you're here in my community, you know that's not why we train. We're not training for calorie burn. We're training for building our body, not just physically, but health-wise, building the tissues of our body, improving our performance, improving our health, improving the way that we move, all of those things, right? So the training is not about calorie burn. So we're not trying to make up for that by eating less if we're not training. And many times I say, you actually, most of the time, need more on the days that you're not training, because those are the recovery days and those are the days that you're healing. And there's the clue, healing. Just like surgery, the question about surgery or illness, your body is trying to heal. Healing is a very demanding process. This is a metabolic process. Your body is requiring a lot of energy to go through this healing process. This is why many of you could say, you know, oh, I was sick and I lost weight, right? And I think a lot of the time people, women in particular, this is conscious or unconscious. This could be an unconscious thing. So if you're thinking, I don't think that's me, dig a little deeper. Because a lot of the time I see women using sickness as an excuse to underconsume or to starve themselves. So this whole concept of maybe I should fast when I'm sick, I think a lot of it comes from this, oh, I'm sick, I'm not hungry, well then that way I'll just eat less and then that way I'll lose fat faster. So there's a lot of that can be playing in the background. And one of the things we talk about here a lot is that, and I just mentioned it in another group in a comment, that less is not more. When we're in this fat loss journey and body recomp, there's a sweet spot. We don't want to be over consuming. We don't want our calories, we don't want to be in too high of a surplus. And we need to be in a deficit if we want to lose body fat, but being in more of a deficit is not always better. We really need to find that sweet spot where we're in enough of a deficit that our body's pulling body fat, but we're not undernourishing ourselves. And that's all the time. But when you're sick is a time when your body needs the nourishment to heal. So it's important to keep at the same calories that you were at if you're tracking calories or macros that you were when you're training, because before it was being directed to recovery from training, now it's being directed to recovery from illness. So your body is still using it. In many cases, it may actually need even a little bit more nutrition than it typically gets. So this is why you may find that you could actually probably get away with eating a little more and not gain weight when you're ill because your body's using it. Now, that being said, the real key here to focus on is nourishing foods. Thinking about your body as this is the time that I need to nourish, not a time that I need to restrict, and not a time that I need to be diving into, quote, comfort foods. If you turn to those traditional sick foods, and I've had many clients, this is not coming from nowhere. Oh, I was sick, so I just ate saltines. Oh, I was sick, so I got some chicken noodle soup. These foods we were taught when we were kids were good for us when we were sick. They're not the way to go. There's nothing magical about saltines. There's nothing magical about noodles. It wasn't the saltines and the noodles that healed you when you were sick, when you were a kid.
Don't forget the ginger ale.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that too. And I mean, it was like ice cream, right? Like, why would we eat ice cream when we were sick, when we were kids? Stupid. Even back then, we should have known better than that. But junk foods and comfort foods, why do we turn to them? We have nostalgia. We have those memories of when mom used to give it to us, grandma used to give it to us when we were sick, when we were kids. And the convenience factor. If you have a protein bar or you have junk in the house and it's packaged and all you got to do is open the package and eat it, and you're tired and you're exhausted and you're not feeling well, the last thing you want to do is prepare something healthy. Grabbing the convenience food, it's a comfort response. It's a quick response. It's convenient response. Those things, what they're going to do is ramp up the inflammation in an already inflamed system that is trying to heal, and it will prolong the healing. So the do's are eat, don't fast. The don't is do eat, don't fast. Do eat nutrient dense foods. Don't eat junk comfort foods. Cut out anything inflammatory, especially dairy when we're dealing with mucus. So when we're talking about anything sinus, upper respiratory, the congestion, the lymph nodes swelling up, ear pain, nasal congestion, sinus pain, sore throat, avoid the dairy. And here's the thing, people will turn to soft foods, right? When you're having a sore throat, yogurt, ice cream, just say no to the dairy because it will ramp up that, not only the inflammation systemically, but the mucus production, and that will make it a lot harder to get rid of all that mucus. So that's a big, big thing to shift. Along with that, if you're, this is when I would lean into, like I said, protein powders and using those protein powders to keep getting that protein when you may not be able to keep foods down. I was going to say the only exception to the fasting rule would be when you can't keep foods down, but I'm actually not going to use that as an exception. If you're vomiting or the other end and you're eliminating a lot, you actually need to eat more. And it feels counterproductive because it's like, oh my God, I can't keep anything down, but you have to try. And here's the analogy I want to leave with you. Pregnant women don't stop eating because of morning sickness. They're nauseous and they're vomiting it up, but they are eating more. Why? Because they know that baby, that fetus needs nutrition. So they have to keep trying because they have to keep that nutrition up for the baby, right? You are your own baby. Treat yourself like you are your own fetus. When you're tempted to not eat, say, wait, no, my baby needs nutrition. So I have to do what I need to do to get the nutrition in me. Maybe it has to be an electrolyte drink. Maybe it has to be a protein shake or protein ice cream or something that's, yeah, not going to bother if you have a sore throat, that feels more soothing. There's even like collagen water drinks you can make now, or you can mix collagen into your tea or something like that, just to get any source of protein you can. Collagen is not a complete protein. It's not what I would suggest. But if you're really struggling to keep anything down, the least you could do is like a collagen water or collagen tea or something like that to get some nutrients in your system. And maybe with like a powder multivitamin or something, you can find that can get some nutrients in your system. Okay, that is 2, eat, nourish yourself. Cut out the inflammatory foods, get as much nutrition in you as possible. If you can handle plant foods well, then this is where you can do like soups with, and here's the thing, like whether you're even carnivore, ketovore, any of these would work because herbs are really powerful and microgreens. So the kinds of things that are not harsh, not as harsh on your gut, like you're not eating stalks of kale and you're not eating cabbage and things that are going to tear up your gut, but parsley, cilantro, fresh dill, fresh herbs, and you can put them in a soup, cook them into a soup with some eggs, whole eggs, makes a nice creamy soup. Great way to get some protein and get a whole lot of micronutrition without having to eat a whole lot of plant foods or like a steak. I haven't eaten a steak all week. I was eating steaks all week on the cruise, and then when I got back, I was like, it's been ground meats and just cooked in broth so that they're really easy to get down. I can crumble them up really small. That was easy to get down. So a lot of like lamb and beef in beef broth, scrambled eggs and avocado have been a go-to all week. Soft, easy to get down. And then I made protein pancakes. I used a ginger protein, I call it ginger. It was a pumpkin spice, it was terrible. Because I added ginger to it, and it was like so gingery, it was too harsh to handle on a regular basis. I was telling Kaya this story earlier today. But I had a couple of days where I couldn't taste and smell. So I was like, I'm going to use that protein powder and I'm going to make protein pancakes with it. And that got me a lot of the way toward my protein goal with some eggs. It was a great way to use up that protein powder I didn't like. So if you have one that's been sitting around that you don't like, save it for a rainy day and use it when you need it when you're sick. Let's see. Okay. Number 3 is hydrate. And this is the thing we've always heard our whole lives. At least they got something right about fluids, consuming fluids when you're sick. On low carb, we know how important electrolytes are. So make sure you're not just drinking a ton of water when you're sick, but that you're including your electrolytes. Not doing juices and sodas and swapping those out for electrolyte water. Something that was a game changer for me that always is when I'm sick. And this is why I sometimes question coffee, because when I'm sick, the first thing that goes is coffee. I have no taste for it. I don't want it. It doesn't soothe the same way hot tea does. So I immediately switched from coffee to tea when I'm sick. And then I also ended up switching that for Theraflu. And every day I was starting my day with Theraflu, the liquid, hot liquid Theraflu instead of even tea. But I did a lot of tea. You could do hot lemon water. You could do, I just stocked up on ginger and turmeric because I didn't have any fresh ginger and turmeric. But I used to love making a golden milk when I was sick, not with real milk, but with coconut milk and ginger, fresh ginger and turmeric steeped in water and then blended. It is amazing for inflammation. And ginger is great for settling your stomach too. So if you're struggling with any kind of stomach issues while you're sick, ginger can be great for that. But not ginger ale, but actual real ginger. And it only takes a small amount, like a tiny, like half an inch piece of each to really make a great tea. I also found some cinnamon sticks. And so I put the cinnamon sticks in water and I brewed some tea with some tea bags with the fresh cinnamon sticks. And that's what I was sipping on all week, was a cinnamon tea. I'm very partial to my MCT coffee, so I was doing MCT with my tea instead and frothing it up, just like I would do it with my coffee. And that was also giving me some fats early in my day when it was difficult to get food down. I noticed too, backtracking a little bit, that one of the things I was dealing with that you may deal with when you're sick is this: you have to take your meds, but you don't want to take them on an empty stomach because they could bother your stomach. So when I woke up in the morning and I was feeling terrible and I had to get some meds in right away, before I got the liquid Theraflu, I had the Mucinex. And I was like, okay, I don't want to take this on an empty stomach. I don't want to take Tylenol on an empty stomach. So I would just have something small. And that's where the first day that the protein pancakes started happening, and the scrambled eggs. So if you're tempted to grab a snack, if you're in a house that has a lot of standard American diet stuff for your family, and you want to go grab something junky just because you want to put food in your stomach, go for something like an egg, or boil a bunch of eggs and have them available so you can just have a hard boiled egg or something quick. One morning I just took a quarter of an avocado, put some salt on it, and that was what I had with my meds. So it doesn't have to be a convenient snack. It can be real food, if you plan for it. But with the hydration, okay, so swapping out coffee for tea or other hot beverages, doing the fresh ginger, fresh turmeric, fresh herbs. You could do fresh mint. You can buy fresh mint and make your own mint tea, or just, I have a ton of teas that I just keep, that I most of the time I'm not that interested in, but when I'm sick, I'm all about it. So that's when I pull out all the teas. And then keeping your electrolyte water going all day long. And a couple of other ways to hydrate. I mentioned I use a humidifier. Thank God Bronson had one, because I didn't have one. And he thought of it and he was like, oh, you should use the humidifier. After the first night using that, I could actually breathe in the morning. So it was a huge difference. And I move it to wherever I'm posted up for the day. So when I was in the living room, on the couch, it was out there with me. If I was in the bedroom, it was in the bedroom with me. Another powerful thing to have, just always have available, is a neti pot. It's one of those, you pour the water in one nostril and then it goes out the other. These can be great for maintenance and prevention just as much as, because once you're all blocked up, it's going to be even harder for those things to work. So more like at the first sign of some congestion, use that neti pot. I used to use those religiously when I would get sinus infections 3 to 4 times a year before I changed my diet. And I lived with the neti pot. But that's also the power of a low inflammatory, low carb diet, is that I don't get those anymore. So that's pretty awesome. And then hot showers. I used to be a nighttime shower person. I'm typically a nighttime shower person. But this week, first thing every morning, I got in a hot shower. I did not put on the fan, so it would steam up the room. And I have my essential oils. I love eucalyptus essential oil for anything nasal congestion. The mint is good as well. So peppermint and eucalyptus. I have this one called Breathe that has a blend of essential oils. And I just throw a few drops in the shower when I turn it on really hot, and then it'll go into the steam. It's like a steam spa sauna deal with the eucalyptus in the air. So it really helps with the breathing. So does if you can find fresh eucalyptus, it's also really good for that. But essential oils, I love to have those around. Every single morning I would sniff the eucalyptus essential oil, put a little bit, dab a little bit in and around my ears, just kind of help me breathe. And then, so the hot showers, hot baths, moist heat, whatever you can do for the moist heat. Even if my mom's old trick would be filling up the sink basin with hot water, steamy water and putting a towel over your head and just breathing it in that way. Old school.
Yep.
Make your own kind of steam room.
Also, I think lavender is really good for breathing too, like at night. So it's
At
like
night.
maybe help you sleep. And I just like just take the whole bottle and just dab it on my pillow.
The pillow,
and,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a great
lavender
idea.
is good.
Lavender is really good for sleep. Yeah, so if you're struggling with sleep, that's a great idea. I also found one year when I was traveling, I think it was in Croatia, I bought lavender. It's culinary lavender. You could probably find it on Amazon these days. But culinary lavender, so you could actually make like a lavender tea.
Mhm.
So that would be great. You can do a lot with it. So you can bake with it.
Yeah, my mom makes lavender, like the flower like the little flower pods, but she mixes it with like a little batch of like not erythritol, but like a
Sweetener.
0 calorie, yeah, sweetener, whatever blend. So then she'll bake with that and make like cookies with the lavender sweetener. So that's
Oh,
it's really
wow.
yummy. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
was gonna say with the neti pot, I actually have a neti bottle too. So you can
Oh,
squeeze it and it kind
yeah.
of forces it a little bit more. So you can really try to push it out, not just kind of let it dribble.
Yeah, because that doesn't work so well when you're already stuffed up. So I could see that. Yeah, and then they have like the nose, what was it? Forget the name of that nose spray that's literally just to moisten the nose that you can spray up there. I don't remember
Yeah.
what it's called. Yeah, those are all great things. You have to try to keep that going. Um, and that's why it's blocking up. All right, hydrate and then medicate. This is the natural girl saying medicate. Yes. Don't try to be a hero. If you need it, take it. All right, so I do lean on homeopathic meds. So the first day that I was feeling I was like, okay, let me get some homeopathic stuff. What do we have? I pulled out the medicine cabinet and I had all my homeopathic stuff. So there's one that starts with an O that's a really long word, oxylococcum or something like that. Don't know how to pronounce it, but it's in every health food store that has a pharmacy section. Whole Foods has it. And it's supposed to lessen the duration of a cold. So I always try to keep that around so I have it in case I'm starting to feel something. Take it at the first sign. That was one thing. Another one that I'm looking at actually that I'll show you. Nature's Way, cold and flu. These are just chewables. And they actually don't have sugar or anything listed, which they do have to list. So a lot of the time when you read these things, especially if they're chewables, it may say like 4 grams of sugar or whatever. So read them and make sure that you see what's in them. But this is all just a bunch of natural roots, I guess, root things. Eucalyptus I recognize, but I don't know. Phosphorus I recognize. But then there's a bunch of other words I've never heard of before.
It looks kind of like sambucol. It's like the elderberry and
Similar
like
brand.
other.
Yeah, they also have Sambucus is the other brand that has some stuff with elderberry and things like that. Looks like this is a South African geranium flower.
Cool.
Yeah, so I'd never seen this one before. I thought I'd give it a try. I don't know how well it's worked, but something to give a try. I have tried the Sambucus elderberry before. And actually, I don't know what I did with that, but I put it in my bag. My naturopathic doctor just gave me a couple of new recommendations and he's sending me over some more. But one was immunoberries is what he called it. So I need to look it up, but immunoberries. And then there was another, let me see if I have it in my bag. There were like 3 of them. Here we go. Yeah. Immunoberry, and I think he said it's Sambucus. It's with the Sambucus products. And then there's something called ginger tussin. So it's kind of like a cough syrup kind of deal, but ginger based. And then Gaia is the name of the brand, Gaia. They have a spray that is echinacea propolis. That's what he uses before he goes to conferences and while he's at conferences, just to prevent anything. So those are some things I will probably be stocking up on for the future. I also tend to look for cough drops that are not filled with junk. That can be difficult to find, but sometimes the herbal stores will have some things that, like the natural food stores will have things that are not full of sugar. So typically I avoid those though most of the time. I also tend to avoid liquids like the syrups of any kind, and I usually avoid gummies because they always have a bunch of junk in them sugar wise. So what I usually take for over-the-counter stuff is for anything sinus, blockage, cold, flu kind of deal, Theraflu, the liquid, the powder that you mix with hot water to make like a tea, and the Mucinex. And typically I will do the generic brand. So for those of y'all that didn't know, because I didn't know for many years, that all of these brands, it's all marketing, but every store will typically have a generic version of it that is the exact same ingredients. So get to know the ingredients of your medications. The reason I usually like the Mucinex or the generic brand of Mucinex is because it has acetaminophen, Tylenol, a expectorant, which is that guaifenesin that you'll see on the label, and the decongestant, which is usually the phenylphrin.
Phenylephrine.
Thank you. I'm like, I never know how to say that. And then what's the last one? Sometimes it'll have a cough suppressant. I typically prefer the expectorant over the cough suppressant because when you have mucus, you want to get it out.
Yeah.
You don't want to suppress it. So yeah, go for it, Debbie. What'd you say?
I said that's what I've been taking, the Mucinex.
Mm-hmm. And I try to go for the heaviest ones. What I find is a lot of the time the guaifenesin that they have in there, the expectorant isn't that much. So I keep an extra bottle of the expectorant itself. You can buy it by itself. And then I'll take some of that, unless you can find the ones that are really high in that. But the acetaminophen is going to be a lifesaver for things like what we're dealing with now because the pain is so strong. And what I've read is that it's better to take acetaminophen in that case and not the NSAIDs, like the, what is it?
Ibuprofen and
Yes, ibuprofen. Also, personally, I have a history of ulcers and low stomach acid, which was caused by taking way too many of those things. So look for what's appropriate for your needs, whatever your sickness tends to be, but typically expectorant is going to be the jam for anything that's got a lot of congestion going on, and the nasal decongestant. And then get prescriptions if you need to. Call the doctor, don't put it off. I was always the person that would put it off. And keep track of when these things happen for you, like how frequently they're happening, what kind of symptoms you get, what it is, right? I was able to make the connection all those years from, I get these sinus infections so regularly. And when I would go to the doctor and they would say, oh, it's just a common cold, I'd be like, no, I felt this before. I know what this is. I've had these sinus infections. These are symptoms of sinus infections. They'd send me home, and then 2 weeks later, they'd be like, well, it's too soon for us to say it's a sinus infection. And then 2 weeks later, after suffering for 2 weeks, I go back and I could finally get some antibiotics. So, I always say be your own advocate and find a doctor that's going to listen to you and work with you. And I really love mine. So Okay, so yeah, rest, eat, hydrate, medicate. Does that spell anything cool? No, not really.
I found a while back when my husband was having his esophageal issues, he couldn't swallow, like when all this 2020 stuff was happening, it was like the echinacea and the zinc and the D and all that stuff. Well, he couldn't swallow the whole handful of everything that I was trying to give him every day. I've actually found like a sugar-free zinc gummy with like nothing really in it. So I got him like 2 or 3 bottles of those. And then I found Paisley even some gummy vitamins that are stevia. It even says like keto certified, gluten-free, everything free, you know, on all that stuff. So I got those on subscription now. So
Oh,
we
wow.
all take her vitamins. So yeah,
Yeah,
I'll share that with you if you want to look at it and see what you think about them.
sure. Yeah.
But yeah, but zinc and D, I think, are one of the good ones, one of the main things besides, you know, echinacea, turmeric, all that stuff. But yeah, the zinc, I think, kept it away.
And actually, yeah, good point about that, because I was taking, we had me on a zinc supplement for a while, and then at one point when we were dealing with trying to optimize everything, my doctor wanted me to come off of the zinc. And so I've been off the zinc for a while. So I asked him I spoke with him today. I was like, should I start taking the zinc again? And he said no, because a lot of the times zinc supplements that people are taking by like orally in capsules, they can disrupt the copper balance. So then you can end up, because zinc and copper compete. So you could end up with a copper deficiency, and then a lot of time he has to add copper in, and then it balances everything out. But he said the one that typically will help with colds and things like that are the zinc aspartate lozenges. So not like all the kinds of zinc that you're gonna get, like the picolinate and stuff in pill form, but the lozenges. So that might be the one that
Okay,
if you got it in a gummy form.
I'll look it up.
Yeah, so that was new to me. I had not known that, and I know that a lot of people, and I think this is where he was experiencing that, because so many people were taking so much zinc, you know, for that reason. Oh yeah, on that, similar on that note about nutrients, micronutrients, this is another reason why I encourage variety in your diet, even if you're carnivore. Getting in seafood, getting in lots, not just 1 or 2 or 3 foods that are always the same, but definitely egg yolks, whole eggs, and seafood can be incredible for the omega-3s. So, you know, one day when I think I just started getting my taste back, and if I had thought about it in time, I would have been having sardines every day that I couldn't taste. Because sometimes I like them, but sometimes I'm really like, nah, wasn't really feeling it. But that would have been a great way to get some micronutrition. Or if you normally can't handle animal organs, you know, organ meat, when you can't taste and smell, maybe that's the time to get the organ meat in. So maybe if I had thought of it, I would have some like chicken liver pate frozen in the freezer. I might have taken that out and had some.
Or just mix it with that ginger protein and some sardines and just make a messy bowl out of all of it.
Oh God, knowing me, that would be like the moment I start tasting again. And I never want to eat again. But whatever you can do to get nutrition in your body, this is the time to be filling your body with as much good nutrition as possible. And don't go back to training too soon, and don't go too hard when you do. Yeah, Machita's agreeing. It would have been a great time to eat sardines and liver. Exactly.
Did you by any chance
Go
get
ahead.
to use your red light during any of that?
I did. I have it right on the couch. So my long Netflix days. And it kind of causes some sweating too. So I think that probably helped. I had one day where I was just chills all day, and the next day where it was just nothing but sweat all day long. My body was like, get it out. But yeah, the red light, I tried to use the red light as much as I could. And then when the sun came out, because unfortunately the first 2 days I was sick, it was also rainy, which was not fun. It was like gloomy outside. But when the sun came back out, then that was the other thing. And I meant to mention that I actually doubled up my vitamin C and I doubled up or more of my vitamin D. Those were 2 things I made sure I increased. And my multivitamin, I have like a multi-pack that has a multi plus a few other things. I had not been taking that because on the cruise, I always end up when I'm traveling, I don't do as good with my supplements. So that was the one thing that I kept missing taking consistently on the cruise. And I had been taking it every other day, but when I got back, I was like, okay, I'm going to take my multis every day. Just anything you can do to give yourself that little extra. So C, D, a multi, can't hurt. Just get extra nutrition. And getting out and seeing the sun. Even if it was like literally drag my butt out there and sat in a chair and looked at the sun and then came back in. Anybody have any questions or anything else to share? All right, well, we are at an hour. I will leave you with that. Happy healing to all my ladies who are going through it now or will be in the future. I hope that this was a help to you.
Thank you.
Rest, eat. What else did I say? Rest, eat, hydrate, medicate.
Yes, ma'am.
Right, ladies. Good luck,
Feel better,
Debbie.
Debbie.
Thanks.
Back to 100% very soon.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.